Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We are here with Stephanie Salcedo. She's going to be joining us to talk about funeral pre-planning, and how to avoid hidden costs and just things you should know to reduce stress, save time, and also save money. We know it's not everyone's favorite topic, but it's so important to talk about it and really know your options and really just think about pre-planning. So we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to say thank you guys again for joining us. If you guys have any comments or anything you want to say throughout the presentation, be sure to just comment below. And also, today is Giving Tuesday now. So it's usually in the fall, but we're moving it up because of all of these nonprofits with everything going on. Some people are needing some more help. So we are participating in that. If you guys want to go to www.carepartnerstexas.org/donate, you can read all about that. And we are also, we have decided to postpone our in-person programming throughout the end of May. So we will be reevaluating May 31st if and when we'll be coming back with our in-person programming. But until then, we are continuing to monitor the situation. We are updating our website. There's a monitoring the coronavirus webpage. You can view a ton of different resources there and just information about what we're doing and other helpful things that you guys resources that you can use at home or just how to stay safe. So there's a lot of stuff on our website. Be sure to check it out. With that, we are going to bring Stephanie up. Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today on your segment. I appreciate it.
And so today, I guess we'll just talk. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Stephanie Salcedo from Secure Your Legacy. I am a funeral broker, and I'm also the president of the Houston Funeral Consumers Alliance. It's a nonprofit organization here in Houston. And so today, what I'm going to talk about is how to be prepared for final end of life, how to be prepared, how to get yourself prepared, the do's and the don'ts. So we're going to be discussing that today, Darian. So I think I'll have a lot of good information for the segment today.
I know I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of us are ready and excited to hear this really important information. So at that, I guess we can go ahead and get started.
Great, wonderful. Well, I appreciate everybody seeing our segment today. This is going to be very important for you to kind of gather some notes and take some notes down. But most importantly, let's talk about this COVID-19 real quick. We're under a lot of stress right now. We got the COVID-19. Now we heard of the Asian giant hornet bees. I mean, my goodness, this is just such a stressful time for so many of us. I've decided, you know what? I'm not even going to take sides anymore. Who's right, who's wrong, whether CNN or Fox or whoever's right or wrong. It's just stressing me out. And imagine how many people out there are stressed with all of this going on in the media and the news and so forth. And, we think about, yes, our nurses. Absolutely, our doctors, our nurses, but what about our funeral home employees, our funeral directors that day in and day out have to go out and work and be exposed to the COVID-19, having to leave their family members at home and worried about whether or not, am I going to get this virus or not? There's some funeral directors that say, no, we're not worried about it. We should be fine. But then there's others that are trying to get all this protective gear to protect themselves. And the reason I'm bringing this up, guys, folks, because there was a report, I believe it was on Fox News. And what really upsets me is that these news reporters half of the time don't even know what they're doing. A family will call the news reporter and say, hey, I have a complaint, and make a big deal out of nothing. Let me tell you guys, this is what the funeral homes are trying to do, okay? They are charging some, and I'm not saying all of them, some of them are charging for a PPE gear protection of equipment to protect their staff with gloves, with gowns, with a mask. They're charging $495 to buy this equipment gear. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. This is not price gouging. This is protecting your funeral home and your staff. And enough is enough. If the news reporters do not know, then they do not need to report it. So that's why I've decided, you know what? I'm not even going to watch the news because they got me so confused and so wrapped up, and it just stresses me out. If my son or my daughter were a funeral director. If I was a funeral director and we're going through this situation right now, yes, of course, I would want to be fully geared and protected. So don't say they're price gouging. Families get under a lot of stress. And I have dealt with so many families that have lost their loved ones. And, a lot of the families that I have talked to, they're ready to put the blame on the doctor at the hospital because mother didn't live or father didn't live. Look, they're trying to do their best. That's all I can say. And just like the hospitals are trying to do their best, so are the funeral homes. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to take care of their families. They're trying to take care of their children because they're staying home. They don't have a babysitter, and they're trying to operate a business. So who is to blame for all of this? I am not going to blame the funeral homes for wanting to charge for protection to protect their families. So consider that when you hear another news reporter trying to make a big stink out of nothing. It's not the funeral director's fault. It's not the owner's fault. It's nobody's fault. We just have to work together. We have to protect ourselves. I'll tell you, I hate wearing a mask. It stinks. I don't like it. But unfortunately, I don't know if I'm really going to be able to give it to someone else. So instead of giving it to someone else or spreading the germ, hey, let's just work together on this and let's try to come to terms and get this COVID-19 out of here as fast as possible. Because I'll tell you, I'm about to lose it. I have seen a lot of the news reporters, CNN, different reporters, even the ones that do talk shows. I've seen them come back on air and it's like, oh my goodness, they are stressing. They are truly stressing, especially when you're used to seeing them all the time and you know how they look, and then all of a sudden they come out in the open and they look like they're really stressed out. This is just stressing us all out. So when a death occurs, it's going to be the most stressful time, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. We all have to be proactive, okay? We have to come to terms, reconcile, come to terms, and know that, hey, it's not going away. And God forbid it happens to anyone anytime soon, but it's happening each and every day. The funeral home industry, a lot of folks always want to talk bad about the funeral homes and talk bad about the funeral homes. I don't take each side. It's not like I don't take the Republican, the Democratic side. I don't take sides, okay? I'm not going to take the side of the hospital or the side of the funeral home. The side that I'm going to take is this. If you are proactive and you are doing what you're supposed to do as far as getting all of your affairs in order, then you're going to be one step ahead of the game. If you're not, then you're not. So there's no one else to blame but you. The only thing I can share with you is this. There's two ways of doing it. Number one, at need, pre-need. And you say, well, what is at need and what is pre-need? All right, let's go for at need. A sudden passing occurs, you're at the hospital, the doctor, the nurses say, I'm so sorry, you've lost your loved one. You need to decide, or we need to know which funeral home to call. Once again, like I said 2 weeks ago, that's not the time to pick up your phone and start scrolling, well, who are we going to call? The funeral homes have the right, just like a restaurant, just like a hotel, and oh, by the way, hotels do go up in price, restaurants, okay? Everyone that owns a business can actually charge what they want to charge. The funeral home industry goes by a general price list. It's you, the consumer, that has to do your due diligence. You have to call, you need to find out what are the prices involved, okay? And like I said, at the time of need, that's not the time to be scrolling through your phone. That's the worst time. You are not in the right frame of mind. You're grieving. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and they have to be made quickly. So that is not the appropriate time. I get it, folks. We do not want to talk about death. We don't want to talk about dying. But it's a conversation, once again, that needs to be well discussed. Because if it isn't discussed in your home, you will pay the price. And whose fault is it? It's not going to be the funeral home's fault. They're running their own operation, their business. That's why I've told a lot of people, shop the market, know your options, what's available. There's families that like funeral home XYZ down the street. Maybe they've been serviced before. They're happy. They don't care what they're having to pay. Then I got a lot of folks that, they just don't know what to do, and they're calling the most expensive funeral home and they want to blame it on the funeral home. No funeral home is to blame. You have to be proactive. Number one, which funeral home are you going to use when the passing occurs? Is it going to be burial or cremation? There's a lot of decisions, okay? Who's going to be the immediate next of kin in charge? How are they going to fund the funeral? I've heard people complain and say, well, the funeral home was charging us and they would not let us do a viewing until we paid them. Well, yeah, exactly. Because unfortunately, a lot of the funeral homes have been burned where they haven't been paid. So yes, you have to pay before the services are rendered. Unfortunately, it's a business. It's like everything else. That's why you have to have life insurance, okay? You have to have a pre-need funeral policy. You have to be prepared. Get your wills in order. All of that. People complain about, oh, well, I have to do this, or I got to go to probate, or no, those cemetery plots belong to me because my mother passed away and she left me everything. If it's not stipulated in the will, or you didn't go to probate and you don't have a testamentary letter, there's nothing you're going to be able to do if no one's willing to come to the table to sign. So you have to get your affairs in order. Most importantly, a lot of people don't even know how to fill out the vital statistic information. The funeral director will start asking you questions, to file the death certificates. Half of these folks don't even know what their grandmother's name is, or great grandmother's name. So you're planning for your mother, and they'll ask you, what was your grandmother's maiden name? Where were they born? A lot of people don't even know that. Believe it or not, I've seen it all. In my career, I have helped over 5,000 people. I don't work for the funeral homes. I work for you. Everything and all the knowledge that you need to try to figure all this out, I know it right here. I've been in the industry for 16 years, and I've learned from the very best, and I've seen the very best, and I know exactly how these funeral homes operate, and I know exactly what's going on behind closed doors. This is a business that is not going to go away. And if you want to avoid the business, cremation is not going to be the easy route, folks. I'll tell you right now. A lot of people will say, well, my kids know what I want. I want to be cremated. You know what? Cremation is becoming very popular. And as a matter of fact, I would prefer cremation over burial. But the rates on cremation are going up every single year. The funeral homes have the right to go up on their prices. Everything goes up. So in order for you to get ahead of the game, you must do a pre-need policy and lock in your funeral rate. And some of you are saying, well, I have life insurance, so I've got that covered, no problem. Let me tell you what's going on. Some of these life insurance policies, they are not going to release the funds unless they have a death certificate. And who gets the death certificate? It's not your attorney. It's the funeral director. So if the funeral director has not gotten paid, the funeral home has not gotten paid, guess what? You're going to have to pay that, and then you're going to have to cash in for that insurance policy. Now, there's some insurance companies that will assign a certain amount of the proceeds to the funeral home on what the costs are, and then there's some insurance companies that they won't do any of that at all. Some of these funeral homes have to go through a third party to be able to collect the funds from that insurance company. So there are fees that the funeral homes are charging to do a claim, and it can be anywhere between 5% to 15%. So if that funeral is every bit of $15,000, you're going to pay $1,500 just to go through that insurance company to file that claim. And that depends on the funeral home, folks. So not every funeral home charges the same fee. Not every funeral home is going to charge you or have the same restrictions. Every funeral home operates in their own way. What I would suggest for you to do, if you don't want to call me, you don't want me to help you, that's fine. You want to do it on your own, call around, shop the market, sit down with the funeral directors or their employees, ask them questions. What is it going to cost me? And the best way to do it, in my view, the best way to do it is to do an insured funeral prepaid policy. Why? Because that money is set aside with a funeral insurance carrier. So if you end up moving, that money goes with you. You don't lose that money. If you put that money into trust, that's a whole nother ballgame. That funeral home has more control of those funds. So very important that you know that. Number one, on a pre-arrangement, you're going to lock in the rate. Guys, we know that these fees are not going anywhere. We're going to have to get it done, okay? You can lock in the rate of your casket. You can lock in the rate of funeral director fees. If you want a viewing, if you want a visitation, or if you just want a simple direct cremation, you can do that as well. I recommend you lock in the rate because we all know it's a service we're going to need. Think about it. I mean, I don't know how it was 100 years ago, but when I had my child, that's exactly the way it was. I thought, okay, I have my insurance. What's the deductible? What am I going to have to pay? It's the exact same thing. The only difference is here we have a beautiful life coming into the world, and here we have a life leaving the world. It's going to happen. Just get it done. It's as if, and this is what I tell a lot of the gentlemen, because I'll tell you, the men do not like to think about funeral planning. They hate it. They don't like to talk about it. And a lot of ladies out there, and I know this for a fact because I've had a lot of widowers that have come to me and said, Stephanie, my husband and I should have done this, but he was always in disagreement on talking about funerals. But what will happen is this: if you do not prepare and you leave this on your spouse will pay all these fees. But when your spouse gets ready to pre-plan, trust me, they're going to know the proper way to do it, and they're going to get it done the right way, and they're going to save the family money. So just make sure that you get yourself prepared. This is not something that we're going to blame anyone on, point fingers at. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you get your final affairs in order, you get things documented, you're going to relieve the stress. Number one, the family's not going to have to worry about the decisions, whether you're going to want burial or cremation. Number two, you're not going to leave the family to have to fund your funeral. It's going to be prepaid. You're going to save yourself thousands of dollars. Even if it's 20, 30 years from now, the money's going to be there, okay? And number three, why would you want to put your family or your children through the stress? I have seen so many families have confrontations at a funeral home. Sometimes we don't even call the conference room a conference room. It turns into the confrontation room. And kids don't talk to each other because they didn't like the way Sally did it. So John is mad at Sally because, oh no, she always wants to be in control and wants to do it her way. You have to do it. You have to be in control. The men, I tell the men, like I was saying just a little bit ago, I have to tell men, look, it's like if you're going to the doctor as a little boy and getting a shot for the first time. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be something you're going to like, but I promise once you get it done, it's going to go away and you're going to feel so much better getting it done. So please, please, please take my words of advice. I'm not a licensed funeral director, so some of you out there that are in the funeral business, y'all know I am not a funeral director. I am a licensed insurance broker. I'm here to service the community, whether it's going to be on a pre-need or an at-need basis. You're welcome to call me. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'll go over all the payment plans you want to go over, how the funeral policies work, and maybe we can get into more detail in a couple of weeks when we come back on the segment. I believe, Darian, you're going to have me on the segment about funerals in about 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the plan. We'll have you back again. So if anyone has more questions and they go watch our previous segments and they think of something else, we'll be here again for them to ask all of their questions.
Do you have any questions for me, Darian?
Right now, it doesn't look like we have any comments, but one of the things you were saying I really liked is that pre-planning. But when is it? Is it too early to pre-plan? What does the timing look like for that?
It's never too early to pre-plan. Whether it's now, like at your age, you're very young, Darian, it's the smartest thing to do. Because when you do it on a funeral insurance contract, you're locking in the rate. So you're not exposing your family to these expenses. It gives you a chance to really shop the market and decide, okay, do I want to go to this funeral home or do I want to go to that funeral home? And I'm not going to talk about funeral homes being one bad over the other. What I'm going to tell you is the prices are different one over the other. So you may have a funeral home up the street. I have 3 funeral homes up the street from me, and all 3 of them have different prices. So if that answers your question, it's extremely important. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to have your children insured. If you don't have the financial means, you have to have some sort of protection. I mean, you can't just think, oh, well, if I pass away, they're going to feel sorry for me and they're going to do it for free. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a cost associated with the services. So be proactive, get your affairs in order, whether it's getting your final will done, whether it's getting your funeral policy done or getting a life insurance. Get proactive and get your affairs in order. One other thing I want to share with a lot of grandparents out there, I know that once all of this dies down with the COVID-19, a lot of you are going to want to travel to go visit your kids and grandkids. I get it. Some of you are already planning on going on a cruise. I've spoken to several of my clients who are ready to go on a cruise, who are ready to take a trip to Australia. You need to have traveler's insurance, but not the type that you have to pay over and over. You need to have a traveler's insurance that's going to pay in the event you pass away, and also in the event you get sick. Now, more so, it's more important to have that type of coverage because you don't know. What if you got sick and you're not able to get on that plane? So there's good plans out there, travel plans. Reach out to me if you'd like. I'll be more than happy to share that information with you on the payments and terms and conditions. I'll go over that with you, but get yourself prepared. Don't ignore it. A lot of people say, well, I'm not ready to die. Well, you know what, folks? Nobody's ready to die. And unfortunately, there are a lot of tragedies that are going on in today's world. So it's up to you. You either prepare, be proactive, or you just deal with the prices later. But don't put the blame and don't point the fingers at the funeral homes. The only one to blame is you, because you have to be prepared in order to get ahead of the game. Lock in the rate, be prepared. It's what I like to call the last gift of love. You're not doing this for you, for the funeral homes. You're doing this for your kids. You're doing this for your family. So you love your kids, you love your family, you have planned your graduations, your weddings, you have planned to buy your home, you have planned your retirement, you've planned it all. Be smart, plan your funeral, lock in your rate. That's all I can say. Thank you, Ms. Darian, for having me on your segment. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was some really interesting information. And I think just putting that idea into people's head that the more you pre-plan, the more options you have. And as you keep saying, it can save you so much time, money, and stress. And I think that's the biggest part, especially during tragedy. No one wants to think about that kind of thing. And like you said, it's just, I don't know, you don't want to leave it for the person after you. You want to be able to have it handled like a gift of love, as you said.
Absolutely.
And that way you know that your final wishes are being followed as well. Because I know that I've heard some stories where people feel guilt over not knowing what their family wanted. And so by putting it down, you're helping your family not feel that sort of guilt too. So I just think there's so many good reasons for pre-planning. And as you said, it's just really smart thing to do. And if anyone has questions, they can reach out to Stephanie here at her website, or that's the phone number for your office as well. And with that, we are going to say goodbye to Stephanie. So thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And we really want to thank all of you guys for watching us this segment. If you guys have anything that you guys are doing in your lives or what's going on, we'd love to hear from you. This week, it's also Mother's Day. So we're doing a Mother's Day photo shoot contest. If you guys want to email us a picture with the name of the person in the photo and a little bit about why you think they're so special, the person who has the most likes on our Facebook page at the end of the week is going to get a free front porch photo shoot. So be sure to let all of your friends know about that and nominate all of those lovely mothers in your life. We'll be back with another Hot Topic Live segment really soon. And be sure to check our website for any other resources and activities and all of that. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.